Welcome into another educational interview episode where you're going to get real practical tips and tactics used by a recent first-time homebuyer. Now, when she reached out to us, Kennedy had about $8,000 saved, and she figured she was going to need about 3 years to be in position to buy a home. Well, today she shares how in less than 6 months, Kennedy closed on a home in October of 2025. By the way, that was statistically the worst year for first-time homebuyers to buy a home in history. But she did it, and she ended up paying $55,000 less than her friends who had just bought a similar home. And when she got the proper guidance, she ended up being a homeowner for a total cost all in of only $6,500. Oh, and did I mention, she's only 24 years old. Story time.
How to Buy a Home educates, protects, and connects first-time homebuyers to qualified vetted realtors in their area. Whether you're looking for DIY information or step-by-step guidance, How to Buy a Home is the #1 resource for first-time homebuyers.
Hey everyone, super excited. I've got Kennedy here. She closed on a home right before Halloween in 2025. Kennedy, you got yourself a $300,000 home. You came to me in April. You had $8,000 saved. And you weren't paying rent. So that's something I want to get into. But tell us how with $8,000 in April, let's see. So then that was March, April, May, June, July, August, September. In 5 months, you bought a house. How the world did you do that?
Yeah, I really have to say I have a big shout out to you because of the knowledge that you have out in all of your episodes and getting me connected when I reached out to you with my lender and my amazing realtor, my unicorn realtor, Cameron. I mean, I absolutely adore both of them, and they have done everything to be able to get me to the point that I'm in now. I didn't think at the beginning of the year when I said I was interested that I would be at this point of already in a home. But sitting down and working with them really helped kind of create a plan. I was able to save double of what I had at that point. I was still able to go ahead and buy a home. So I'm super thankful for that.
Whoa. Okay. I want to get into that. Saving double, because that'll be a great tip for everybody listening. So yeah, I just actually was on Facebook yesterday not because I'm old, but because that's where realtors post stuff.
Yeah.
And I saw that your unicorn had another one that got a house yesterday. So he's killing it. Cameron's killing it for first-time home buyers all over the place. Tell us where you guys bought the home.
I was in Louisville, Kentucky, which I'm very thankful for. I planned on staying in that area, but originally Louisville can be so big that I was farther away from where I wanted to be originally when I was living at home and different things like that. So whenever I was purchasing my home, I really wanted to centralize it around where I was going to be doing most of my things. So Cameron really helped with searching for areas in that kind of vicinity.
So you were raised in Louisville, by the way, I know how to say that correctly.
Yes.
And so you're raised in Louisville, but further outside, and now as a grown-up, you're doing things in more of the central area?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So they have like downtown Louisville, for example, and then we have different sides that we consider it. Basically, it's just a larger area code, essentially, is what it is in. But everything that I do is more so in like the east side of Louisville instead of like downtown, where I was living in the south end. So it's taking me about 50 minutes or so to get everywhere that I wanted to be on a daily basis. So I really wanted to kind of centralize and focus in on where I was doing everything at originally.
50-50?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. So then your whole story is so interesting because of the fact that you didn't know you could do it. You talked to the right people. You said that they helped you. How did they help you save money?
Yeah. So realistically, whenever I met with Cameron, it was essential that I told him straight up, I don't know if I'm ready to do this right now. I really want to go ahead and get connected, learn everything about it because that was important to me. And he just said, let's come up with a plan to be able to kind of tackle. He also let me know that if I'm not ready to buy a home right now, he's not going to pressure me to do it. And I really, really appreciated that because that was one of my fears going into it, that I was going to be pressured into doing different things. And he really took that. So in our first meeting with each other, we sat down, we kind of just talked about everything. He also led me into possible down payment assistance programs that would be available. And that was awesome. when we came up to the plan for, how much money should I be looking at? We shared, like, I had $8,000 in my savings account at that moment. I was making this much amount. How can I take a look to see like how much I could really do? And he made a great recommendation that I should really just filter things automatically into my bank account, which I know that you've had that too in your episodes. For example, like when I get a paycheck, I just have stuff immediately go into my savings account rather than having to do it myself. And, that was something that was kind of holding me back in the beginning because I was like, oh, I don't really want to move this over. But it ended up helping a lot because then I knew exactly what I had left over from what my goal was for saving.
I tell people all the time that buying a home is one of the most emotional things you're going to do. So I have studied a lot of psychology because there is a psychology to going on your laptop and moving money versus it just automatically goes there. The psychological moment of you feeling like, because when you move it, you instantly start thinking about, but I have this bill coming up and I have that bill coming up. So first it starts with knowing your numbers, right? Writing it all out. Now, I don't fault you if you don't. Do you have a monthly budget on a spreadsheet anywhere?
I don't necessarily have a monthly budget like on a spreadsheet necessarily, but I do have it in like my notes app. I need to definitely make a spreadsheet though in terms of like how much that I owe. And what I did is in my paycheck that I get every month, I allotted how much I have in bills to go to a separate account, and then the remaining to go in my savings, and then the rest to go in my checking with whatever I might have. So that really helped to kind of distinguish like how much can I actually put in savings, how much are going towards bills, and what do I have like in between. So that helped a little bit.
I think like once a quarter, everybody should put on their calendar, go into my notes app and figure out if I can put this someplace else.
Yes.
Because every smart person I know uses it because you instantly take care of it. But then, and just in case you're wondering, there's a pretty good podcast that has a review of the best budgeting apps that can help you
cool.
if you are curious. Yeah. Scroll through my catalog.
Yeah.
It's in there.
I know that you have some on there.
Yeah, it was huge. We did it in our family. It's changed our life. It's been great. Okay. So first of all, was it just you buying a home?
Yes.
Okay, another single female. I swear to God, boys are so dumb. I have all single women in 2025. Now, one single guy. I love it.
That's awesome.
They are the fastest growing demographic for first-time homebuyers. And how old are you?
24.
Holy moly. Okay. So you're 24 years old. When you came to us, you were doing zero rent. That meant you were living at home, or you just have like a really nice friend?
I was living at home. Whenever I moved back from college, my parents were very grateful or gracious enough to be able to allow me to come back, which I figured they would be. But I was able to do that. My saving, like when I moved back home originally, like I wasn't saving anything and I was just spending my money on whatever I wanted. I really wish I didn't do that, so I would have had even more. But I was at a place to where I realized this is my goal. I'm going to start saving as much as I possibly can. And I reached a lot sooner than I thought it would.
Did you have a job when you came home out of college and you were just spending money willy-nilly?
Yeah, so I was actually working at the same place that I work at now, and I was able to build a career and everything, and I was getting a good paycheck, but I didn't necessarily have anything to save for. Like I had a couple, like probably $2,000 in my savings account just to have, but other than that, like we were going on a bunch of trips. I was buying things that I didn't necessarily need, but I wanted, different things like that. But yeah, that's about it. I did have a job though.
Spending that post-college adulting money. Those are my favorite posts.
Yeah, exactly.
Like people in there, usually they're in an apartment and they just all like surrounded with all this crap that they just got there. Like, I have adult money now. Okay. So that's great. So then you came home and by the way, like the fact that you said, boy, I wish, what was that? Like a year that you wish you hadn't saved, that you wish you'd save more money. And you own a house at 24. You are so ahead of the game. The national average is 40.
Wow.
So I'm going to let you have that year. That's like you went backpacking through Europe.
Right.
Don't think of it as frivolously spending your money. You know what? You had life experiences. When you reached out to me, so you were thinking longer term, but you reached out and said, I'm paying zero rent, but I'm okay paying $2,300. So was your goal that you were going to be someone who was just never going to rent after college? You were going to buy a home?
Yeah, so I have a ton of friends that have rented, and my boyfriend rents at the same time too. And I'm kind of understanding like how the market is, even with his experience, different things like that. And I think I've always just told myself that if I'm okay to live at home and my parents are okay for me to live at home, I'd really like to take that opportunity to not have to be paying into something that's not necessarily mine in the long term. Because I did rent in college. So whenever I was there, I rented in college, and I didn't have a bad experience, but also I was like, I really wish I had gotten a house or something like that to where I could like pay it off or do something different later. But I'm glad I didn't at that point. But I just didn't necessarily care to rent, I guess. That was my main thing. I wanted to be able to pay into something that would be mine in the long run.
So you reached out to us. Tell us about how that experience was when you were talking to people who showed you options, like how the fast forward worked for you, and like how long were you saving, and when did you start looking at houses, or did you do it all parallel?
Yeah, so it actually moved pretty quickly, which I'm kind of glad that it did in the way, but I'm glad that I equipped myself with the resources to actually learn what I was doing rather than just throwing myself into something that I didn't know. At the beginning of the year in January, I had told my friends and family that, I'm really interested in buying a house and I would love to be able to have a house by like the middle of next year in 2026. I never imagined that I would have a house this year by any means, but I told them like, this is a goal of mine. This is what I want to do. So then whenever I was sharing that with my friends and family, my coworkers, different things, I actually had a coworker that recommended your podcast. I was very, very thankful that I did. She had moved from California to Louisville. And so she was like, I listened to this podcast. David Sonny is amazing. You need to talk. You need to listen to him. You need to reach out to him and different things. So as soon as I reached out to you in April, I was still really hesitant because I was like, I am not like very confident at all. I only have $8,000 saved. Is that even like close to possible? I probably still have 3 years to do so. And when I reached out to you, immediately, like meeting with Cameron, he was very helpful. Like I said, patient with me. He explained everything. And after that, like each step just felt really seamless and smooth. Like I never felt pressured. It was something to where I think we actually began the house search in June or July or so, I believe, of like being able to break down numbers, of working with my lender, Elena, of like, what can I actually afford? What's available to me at this moment? And everything since then, just it all seemed like very seamless and very smooth to where I never had any anxious nerves about it. And even in times where I didn't think that I could afford it, something else would come up to where it's like, okay, this is perfectly fine. It's going to be good. And the reason why I decided to buy in October when I did is because they had recently upped the down payment assistance program from $10,000 to $12,500, which was really awesome. And Elena made me aware of that. And she did say it ends at the end of November. So if we do think that we were ready to do this, we should probably at least take it a little bit more seriously, essentially. So I think that was really kind of what pushed me to be like, okay, let's do it.
So many wonderful things there. Everybody hit rewind and listen to that.
I'm so sorry.
No. You didn't ramble. You actually told the story quite well, beginning, middle, end. It was great. Here's the big takeaway I took from that. You thought it was going to be 3 years planning. It was 3 months. And then you started home shopping. This happens all the time. And that's kind of the goal of the podcast. And I'm so glad. Shout out to your friend for recommending it. That's the message I'm trying to tell everybody, is that I tell you, I see 3 years being 3 months all the time, because when you get with the right team.
Yeah.
So talk to us about what it was like when you went out and you went home shopping. Do you have any fun horror stories where the pictures were terrible and wrong, or anything interesting, or how did the process go for you?
Yeah, I have some interesting things. And one of the things too, just because you mentioned it, I do want to like make a statement towards it. I remember at the beginning of me listening to the podcast before I reached out to you, and I heard multiple times, we have people that go from 2 years to 3 months in a home and all this stuff. And I was like, that could never be me. And that was basically kind of what I was like in the process. And I was like, this is insane. But to answer your question, there was a lot of things, like even just from my expectations before, like I actually started looking at houses, the Zillow pictures are obviously like way better than sometimes when you go to see a house, which, I mean, the houses were still pretty, but it's not at all what you were expecting to walk into, and especially with, I think what was helpful is I was able to like actually understand what I could afford, because Zillow and homes.com with those mortgage calculators, before I actually stood down, I thought I'd be able to afford a $500,000 home. And I'm like, what in the world is going on? So it's a big difference for sure.
I need to re-record because it was years ago. Like, we're in 400s now. Episode 180 is titled Online Mortgage Calculators Are Garbage.
Yes, I listened to that one right after.
Oh my God.
I did. I was like, he has to have something on here about this. But basically, like, for example, we went into a home, and I think the reason why I was so set on it, I went and saw it 3 times. And I know that the sellers were probably like, why is this girl coming and visiting our house like 3 times? Is she going to purchase it or not? And I think that the feel of the home really reminded me of my family home that I was in, just because it was the same layout. But at the same time, like the kitchen, my mom was like, Kennedy, you really should not, like, this is a great home, but the kitchen vanity, like, it was a vanity sink in there. Like, none of the kitchen drawers worked. They wouldn't open. There was a whole bunch of different things that like went into it, where I'm glad that I decided to wait. It was a beautiful home. It just wasn't the best for me at the time. And I'm glad that like I didn't, not settle necessarily, but I took my time with the home buying process, and that Cameron was patient with me too. And then I had feedback from other people. But one thing I wouldn't consider it a horror story. I would actually consider it like, it felt like it was a gift, because the one at the house that I bought, the Zillow pictures were beautiful, but I was like, this is definitely too good to be true. I sent it on my family. I'm like, this just came on the market. I need to see it today, because I know that we've seen houses where it doesn't look like it's the same, but if this is true, I have to go see it. And the house was even better than the pictures, and I hadn't experienced that yet. Yes. And I was like, I have to do this. I was telling Cameron, I was like, this is like what I need to do. I need to figure out how I can get this home, because it's beautiful.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to go back to the first one you were talking about, because I talked about the psychology of helping people buy a home.
Yeah.
Tell me about that. How did you wrestling with the emotions because the home reminded you of the home you grew up in? I mean, one of the things you said, which was great, you already felt like you weren't pressured. Mm-hmm. If you're with a pressure salesperson and they see you, I swear to God, I took a class where they were like, if someone said something like, oh, that lemon tree reminds me of the one we grew up with, that later on in the day, make sure you mention that to them to try to get them to buy the house. And I'm like, what? So where did you talk to Cameron about wrestling with that, or was that personally and you talking to your mom? Like, did you tell mom, this reminds me of the house where I grew up in? And she's like, I don't care. The sink sucks.
Yeah. So I talked to basically everyone. I think that me personally, like, I wanted to make the decision that I wanted to make for me. I didn't want like, feedback or anything to necessarily get into me, but I also wanted people to be honest, that came and saw the house with me, different things like that. And I also made it clear with Cameron, like, I really appreciated how honest he was with me about things too. The area that it was in wasn't necessarily exactly where I wanted to be, but it was close enough to where I was like, okay, I'm leaning a little bit towards, staying here. Then it reminded me of my home, and, it wasn't exactly like my home, but it had the same feel. The basement was the same, and I think it was just, I think my parents and my boyfriend had mentioned to me, Kennedy, is it really that you think that this is your home because you feel like it's the same as your home that you've lived in your whole life? Or do you feel like it's your home because you feel like you're meant to be here? And that really like sat with me a little bit, because then I started picturing more so like having to do all the updates that I would need to do in that home and different things. And it ended up being just not the one for me, but that really, like, that question put it all into perspective for me. Is it like, do you really want to be here because it feels like what you've lived in, or because it's meant for you?
Wow. Okay, that's great. So then, undersold by Zillow for the home that you're sitting in right now. Tell us how that happened. So after you walked in and you went, wow, what were the next steps?
Yeah. So me and Cameron walked into the home, and we immediately looked at each other and we were like, whoa. We were like, this is beautiful. We walked around, everything just kept getting better and better. And we were standing on the driveway, and I was telling him, I said, It was listed, I think, at like 294, I believe, 294,000. And I was asking him, I said, I'd previously made an offer on a home actually, and it got overbid, which I was actually okay with. And I think I realized then, like, okay, maybe that wasn't my home. And I told him for this one, I said, I want to make sure that I can do it. What can we do from here so that I can put the best offer in that I possibly can? And we came up with that 300,000. And actually in the, I'm not sure exactly, but basically when they placed it on the market, they had mentioned if an offer is made, they would need more time to be able to move in, if they could. So like if we could have an extended closing from, if they did a rent back or different things like that. And for me, it was a perfect situation because I wanted the home, but I wasn't in a lease that I had to break and get out of immediately. I wasn't in the need of moving in right away since I was at home. So I actually was able to have the house, but continue to save while I was waiting to move in. And it was appealing to the buyers too, to be able to say like, let's do it. And it was like that from there.
You brought up some major tips that I've been coaching for 20 years. Number one, your first offer, if you lowball and then try to meet in the middle, you're already starting with the seller being bummed out by you.
Right.
If you really want the home, come in strong. 2, you can do that when you know your numbers. That was the 3 months of planning that you thought was going to take 3 years.
Yeah.
And then three, real estate's about time and money. I get, I go on Reddit and I see these people that they just talk about buying a home like they're buying a laptop.
Right.
Like somehow you can open it up and look at all the pieces inside and go, well, these pieces are the same. So this one's $200 less. It's not like that. It is absolutely not that black and white. And if you can offer people the 2 things in real estate, time and money, then you win. So you walked in and you both went, you basically said, this home's undervalued. Based on everything we've seen, this should be a 325, 350 home. But because you could offer them that time, so I tell people all the time, move out or go month to month. Don't try to time it with the end of your lease because then you lose a gigantic bargaining chip. So how did the next steps go for you? Inspections and all that.
Yeah, it was really smooth. One thing that I appreciated is I never was left in the dark by them. So I made the offer in September. We were able to close at the end of October. And the sellers, I'm very, very thankful for this. And I'm thankful for the help from Cameron on this as well. The sellers, they thought that they were going to just need, we gave the 30 to 45 day window to close so they would have more time. And then the sellers realized they would only need up until that 45 day window to be able to kind of be able to close essentially and be able to be moved out. It ended up being a lot earlier than they thought. But I also was working with my lender and we were discussing things in terms of how the closing costs and everything can be more expensive at the beginning of the month or the middle of the month than it might be at the end and different things along those lines. And so Cameron and I were able to kind of work with the sellers and say, can we go ahead and close in October? You all can have the house until the 15th or whenever you might need in November, but this would really help me out from a closing standpoint. And then also, you all can have the time that you all need to be able to do what you need to do in terms of moving out and all of that. So it helped me save, I think, like $3,000 or $4,000, which was awesome in the closing costs.
Once again, I cannot explain to people how every single deal has something like this. I can't do a podcast that goes, here's how you save $4,000 and explain your exact situation because there are so many variables with it and having that right team. We do this all the time, which makes me laugh that people are battling like on a 0.5 percentage point for an interest rate or trying to get a kickback from the realtor. I'm like, hire the best and they're going to save you money in so many. Look, your lender got you an extra $2,500. Did you end up using that down payment assistance?
I did. Yep. I was able to use the $12,500 to go towards my closing costs and the down payment, which was awesome.
So there's $2,500 right there. And then you got another $3,000 or $4,000 by doing this because you came into it with the correct planning and the right team that knew how to do it. What you did is what's called a rent back or a lease back. So you closed on the home and you let them stay for a little while. Did they end up staying all the way till November 15th?
It actually ended up being only until November 10th, which was helpful too. So I can get in a little bit earlier than I thought as well. Before the holidays came for Thanksgiving, I was able to kind of go ahead and get stuff moved in. So that was helpful too.
Did you do Thanksgiving in your 2-week-old house?
No, I didn't. I will be hosting a Super Bowl party though. I've already made sure to tell people that they have to come over for the Super Bowl.
Fantastic. It's so funny because I remember, and I talk to people, and I'm talking to so many people about the holidays. You're like the fourth person that's been like, no, we do Christmas here or there, but I'm doing the Super Bowl. It's like,
yeah. That's awesome.
Oh my God, how cool. What kind of property did you get? Is it a single family? Is it a townhome? What do you get for $300 in Louisville?
Yeah, so it was a single family home. I was able to go ahead and get that. And actually, a lot of the types of homes and the areas that I were looking for was like the split level homes or the tri-level where it has like the main floor and then the basement and then the upstairs. And I had never been in a home like that, which was crazy. Like whenever I was going into the home buying process, that's like all that I looked at basically. And it was cool to be able to compare the differences between all of them too and like what I ended up with. But I love it. It's absolutely awesome. I'm going to get a quad workout, though, from all the stairs that
I do. Yeah. In California, we don't have basements, but our garages in townhomes are the bottom floor. And then you go up the garage.
That's
and
cool.
The laundry is usually in the garage. It's called a carriage unit.
Okay.
My wife and I, with 2 small kids, lived in a townhome for several years. And from the laundry room which was the garage to the master bedroom, because the living room was sunken, it was like 4 flights of stairs. So,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, we both were like, I'm not doing squats. We're good. So, wow. This is such an incredible tale. And you're going to be able to host your Super Bowl party. You've hit like 5 years of my podcasts in one interview, going through all these different pieces. So I'm going to do it in reverse. I know I told you I was going to ask you up front, but I jumped right into anything. So a 24-year-old recent college graduate who only had $8,000 saved, thought it was going to take 3 years and took 3 months. What would be your biggest tip? Like your friend said, listen to the podcast. So I'm taking that off the table. We're going to assume everybody does that first.
Sure.
What's your biggest tip as someone who just went through the process?
Yeah, I really think that being patient with yourself and also understanding that you're capable of a lot more than you might think in the moment. For example, I was so hesitant to reach out to you to get connected with my unicorn team that I'm so thankful that I went ahead and like overcame that fear and that hesitancy so that I can get started on the process. Being patient with yourself, having a goal in mind, but also don't like force yourself to have to go through something that you're not ready for necessarily don't settle is what I'm saying. There's going to be something there for you, but at the same time, know that you're capable of doing it. And then also get connected with the unicorn team because it will change your life and you can do things so much more confidently and smoothly with it.
It's so exciting to me because you see the value today, but in like 3 years, when you're hanging out with your friends who've been out of college for 3 years and they're still renting, like that's when you're going to randomly text me and go, dude, unicorns changed my life. Yes. Because now suddenly so many options for you. You're going to be able to take this as a stepping stone. I have to go back and look in the library, but somewhere recently I've talked to a lot of different people about keeping their first home.
Yeah.
6 months after you purchase. Okay, good. 6 months after you purchase, enjoy it. Like set yourself a little reminder after the Super Bowl, call your unicorn lender and go, all right, I want plan A and plan B. Plan A is I keep this house for 5 years and I sell it. Plan B is I use the equity from this home and buy another home and start an automated savings account. It only has to be like $25 a month because you're saving for 5 years. You know? But imagine keeping this home, buying a new place at 29, and now suddenly you're 35 in this giant house that you bought with a low down payment because you know how to do it.
Yeah.
You know, you could even use down payment assistance again. And you own a property, you know, because that's 11 years of equity. My gosh, the possibilities for you are endless. And you're a bright girl, and you had a chance to go through this on your own. I would say that you are a blueprint. If I could create a blueprint to take that stupid 40-year-old stat that we have right now, you're the blueprint, including the screw around for a year, because I'm not a monster. I mean, like, we've talked to people that have bought during college, but, you know, yeah, I'm so thankful that this worked out for you and that the unicorns ended up doing what the unicorns do, magic, baby. So thank you so much, Kennedy. This has been great. I appreciate your time today.
Absolutely. Thank you, David. And thank you for going ahead and, you know, putting everything out that you do for resources for first-time home buyers. You're really, really making a difference. And I know I can speak from it. My coworker can speak from it. And I'm going to recommend it to everyone. I'm like, listen to this. This is what you need to know.
Thank you so much. It started as a little passion project. And now I'm like, well, screw it. I'm going to change the world. This is fun. So thanks.
You definitely are. Absolutely. Well, thank you, David. I appreciate it.
Gigantic thank you and appreciation to Kennedy for sharing all her insights into the reality of all the options that first-time homebuyers actually have. So if you think that you're 3 years away from buying like she did, check out the 10-step program for first-time homebuyers starting at episode 400 to get 10 episodes that walk you through everything you need to do and help you get the facts of the options that are out there for you. And if you're over 24 years old and you have even a little bit of money saved, well, then it's definitely time for you to check your options. Did you hear this story? And Kennedy's story isn't a miracle. It's not an anomaly. Options like these are available to you to get off the renting hamster wheel. So go to howtobuyahome.com and ask a question. I'll answer it directly. No robots. That's me. Or you can just say, you know what, dude, I'm ready. Let's talk to a unicorn team. I want to get the education, the guidance, and the options like Kennedy did. You can do this.
Looking for more DIY education or your own personal step-by-step guidance through the home buying journey? Since 2019, How to Buy a Home has been the #1 resource for first-time home buyers. So visit howtobuyahome.com to get started.